Hello and welcome to the next instalment of skill acquisition. Today we're going to be focusing on transfer of skills. So first of all, we'll quickly look at the specification as a whole. We've looked at classification of skills, stages of learning, practice types, feedback, types of guidance, and today's focus and our next lesson's focus is going to be transfer of skills. Then we'll move on to theories of learning and memory models. So if we look at the specification for transfer of skills, what we need to be aware of or what we need to be able to describe, explain is positive transfer of skills, negative transfer of skills, proactive transfer of skills, retroactive transfer of skills, and bilateral transfer of skills. We also need to know and understand the ways of optimizing the effect of positive transfer. Positive transfer is a good thing, positive, okay, it's going to be really good transfer of skill, and then we need to know and understand the ways of limiting the effect of negative transfer. Negative is not a good thing, and we do not want to have negative transfer take place, so we need to know how to limit that. So when we're talking about transfer, the key thing to be aware of is we've all heard of transfer. It's one thing going from one place to another place. So for example, it's not sporting, transferring money from your parents' bank account to your bank account, okay? That is the process of transfer. It may be with regards to a football player transferring from one team to another team. We need to know about it with regards to skills. So when we're talking or describing transfer of skills, we have to go through the following process, okay? We have to speak about one skill. Then we have a linking word for each type of transfer. Positive, negative, proactive, retroactive, and bilateral have their own linking word. Then we mention the skill again, and then we have to give an example for it. So if I was going to do one now for positive transfer is, the description for it is one skill helps, which is the linking word, helps the learning of another skill, e.g. a cricket ball throw and a javelin throw. So that would be positive transfer. You don't just write that down now because we're going to go on to it when we go through all of the types of transfer. So that is the process of how we answer each one. Okay, skill, linking word, skill. Each one has a linking word. So let's look at past paper questions that have come up recently. Using practical examples, give two ways in which a sport coach could optimize positive transfer. Remember, being able to optimize positive transfer is one of the things we need to be aware of. We need to know it and we need to understand it. Define positive transfer and negative transfer when learning motor skills. And then finally, what makes negative transfer most likely to occur in sport? So moving on, two types of transfer of skills. We're going to start with positive. Okay, so positive transfer of skills is when one skill helps, which is the linking word, the learning of another skill. For example, cricket ball throw and javelin throw. Being able to successfully throw a cricket ball may help in the learning of throwing a javelin. Move on to negative transfer. Negative transfer is not a good thing, okay? So negative transfer is when one skill hinders the learning of another skill. For example, a badminton smash and tennis smash. Badminton smash is really wristy, okay? The shuttlecock's really light, badminton racket's really light in comparison to the tennis smash, which is your whole arm you're using opposed to your wrist, and the ball's heavier and so on. So negative transfer, one skill hinders the learning of another skill. Then we have this transfer called bilateral. Okay, so bilateral transfer is when a skill learned with a limb on one side of the body is transferred to a limb on the other side of the body. For example, basketball dribble from right hand to left hand. If we look at the word bilateral, okay, bilateral meaning two, as in bicycle, two wheels. If we get rid of the B and the I, we had the L limb. Okay, so bilateral is two. The L from bilateral, think of limb. Bilateral is transferring, or a skill learned from a limb on one side of the body is transferred to a limb on the other side of the body. For example, basketball dribble from right hand to left hand. That is a transfer of skill right there. That's a bilateral transfer of skill. Then we have proactive transfer of skill. So proactive, try and think of the P at start of proactive, and the linking word here is previously learnt skill influences the learning of a new skill. So the P for proactive, think of proactive P, previously, okay? So previously learnt skill influences the learning of a new skill. For example, throwing and catching skills learned in primary school are then applied into games such as netball. You could also have a goalkeeper in football doing a drop kick to as a goal kick, okay, can be transferred to a drop kick in rugby. So previously learnt skill of the goalkeeper doing a drop kick when the ball's in the hand or whatever, transfers over to the learning of a new skill, which is the rugby drop kick. And then conversely, from proactive we have retroactive, and retroactive is newly learnt skill influences previously learnt skill. So the javelin throw will actually help with the cricket ball throw. So retroactive, newly learnt skill influences previously learnt skill. So when you're doing these, please have your Cornell notes so that you are getting the answers: positive transfer of skill, negative transfer of skill, bilateral, proactive and retroactive. Positive and negative work in pairs, bilaterals on its own, proactive and retroactive are also pairs. Remember, please ensure your Cornell notes are decent for this and you're using key terminology. For example, with positive, it's one skill helps the learning another skill, negative hinders, bilateral transferred, proactive previously, retroactive newly. So moving on from here, we have got proactive, we've got positive, negative, bilateral, proactive and retroactive. We also need to be aware of optimizing positive transfer, because positive transfer, this one skill helps learning another skill. If we can use that all the time, that is clearly going to be the best thing, and we need to minimize negative transfer, i.e. where one skill hinders the learning of another skill. We do not want that. So how are we going to do that? How are we going to understand how, as a coach, we optimize positive transfer? This is how. Okay, so first of all, similar skills must be used when attempting positive transfer. For example, the javelin and overarm throw is a similar skill. What are not similar is a badminton smash and a tennis smash. Okay, so to optimize positive transfer, you must be using similar skills. We also must have learned the first skill really well. So well learnt first skill is essential before achieving positive transfer. For example, the overarm throw must be effective before transferring it to the javelin. So what I mean by this is, if you've got a cricket player or a fielder in cricket who throws the ball like it's a shot put, then that will not transfer well to a javelin throw, because that is not how you throw a javelin. The overarm throw is very similar to the javelin throw, similar skill, and you need to ensure that that is a well learnt first skill, i.e. the overarm throw is well learnt first, so that it can transfer positively. It can help with learning the new skill of the javelin throw. Next thing that's really important to optimize positive transfer is emphasis must be on the transferable element of the skill. For example, hip twist for overarm throw and javelin. So you are emphasizing the transferable element, i.e. the hip twist will be exactly the same for an overarm throw as it would be for a javelin throw. What would not be the same is the hand grip. Therefore, you wouldn't concentrate on the hand grip. Otherwise, you're not going to get that positive transfer. So you must emphasize the transferable element and stay away from the non-transferable stuff, such as the hand grip, which would be different for an overarm throw and javelin throw. This one's a bit of a trickier one, which we're going to know once we've done other aspects of skill acquisition, so just bear with us on this one. So we have got elements of practice must be identical to elements of the game. Now this is Thorndike's identical elements theory. Okay, so now we're kind of staying away from skill to skill in terms of from one skill to another skill. Now we're saying that elements of the practice must be identical to elements of the game, which is really similar to that varied practice when we looked at types of practice. For example, if you're practicing passing, you need it to replicate the game much as possible. Therefore, you'd probably do a 4v4 passing practice, because that'll replicate passing in the game. You would not do standing 5 yards apart, kicking through cones, and not really changing that skill, and just there, 5 yards apart, not moving, no movement, and just kicking the ball. You wouldn't do that. Okay, so to optimize positive transfer, you have to practice as though it's the game situation. So 4v4 passing practice will replicate passing in the game. Finally, and potentially most importantly, you've optimized positive transfer and minimized negative transfer by using similar skills, making sure your first skill is a well-learnt first skill, emphasizing that transferable element. You have then thought about your practice type, making it really specific to the game. Finally, what will really help is positive reinforcement. Okay, so this praising, we have to praise when positive transfer takes place because it strengthens the SR bond between the two skills. So all of a sudden, because you've strengthened that SR bond, that stimulus response bond, you have got a really good positive transfer taking place. So please make sure you have got corner notes on positive, negative, bilateral, proactive and retroactive transfer of skills. And we are also kind of familiar with this optimizing positive transfer and minimizing negative transfer. Please have questions for every single one of them, and I'll see you in lesson. Thank you. Bye.